On a scale of 1 to 10, how important are the systems in your business right now?
I would say like possibly 10, at least a 9. I think along the way, every single time we've had any issue in the business, I always say like, how could we prevent this the next time? How can we get better? How can we be more on top of things? And I've, from day one, started with a great database, and I still have the same database, the same email base, same everything that I had in 2002, and I've just added on to it.
Okay.
So I think all the way along, like from communication to fulfillment to making sure clients get their orders to communications, like just everything is dependent on a system for me now.
Right.
And having a very lean team, we do a lot of business, and I have a studio manager in California and a virtual assistant, and that's
Wow.
it.
See, I would have guessed you'd have had a much larger staff with the 2 locations now.
No, because we have everything set up, we have all email funnels going, we have all booking funnels going. I do all the customer interfacing, like so I'm the one who's doing the marketing, I'm the one who's doing communication, I'm the one that's meeting with big companies when we're getting contracts for that.
Okay.
And then my virtual assistant is doing all the retouching, order fulfillment, anything that comes from New York, like that's basically once we do, like we'll do 100 people in a day, and then the virtual assistant gets all those files, sorts them, puts them into Pixie Site Gallery, sends out the emails, gives them coupon codes, tracks their orders, retouches their orders, sends them the orders. I mean,
Wow.
I would never be able to do it
Right.
without having a good system in place, and I'd have a much larger team. I don't want to manage a whole bunch of people.
Right,
So.
right, exactly. And then you wouldn't get to look out your window at the beach.
Yeah,
You'd
exactly.
Just be staring at your screen all the time.
I don't want to be sitting in front of the computer screen all the time.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to bounce back a few minutes into
Sure,
something that you talked about, and for people following along, I definitely want you to listen to what the response is here. So after talking to countless photographers over the years, you said something that I'm guessing after your years in business, you have a good idea of how to manage, like if something potentially goes wrong, or you have a little fly in the ointment or a little something. I think the natural gut reaction from somebody who maybe doesn't have the time in the business is, I need to make a rule for that immediately. Mm-hmm. Where then you find yourself making rules for the exceptions all the way along the line, and then you get to it's just a web of mess, for all these rules and regulations. How do you manage that in creating these systems to know like that's viable?
Yeah.
I'm hearing that over and over, or this is that really doesn't mean anything. Like how do you manage that end of it?
Well, one of the things we say all the time, I won't say this to clients, I say this to people inside, it's our sandbox. And we need to tell everybody the rules to play in our sandbox. And we need to set the expectation in the very beginning.
Okay.
And they know what the expectation is, and there is no, for the most part, there's no exceptions.
Right.
I mean, there's always an exception. But
right.
For example, when we have someone in California say, I don't want to come to an in-person, I want to do something else. We tell them beforehand, this is how we do it. You come to a purchasing appointment.
Yep.
You come 7 days after your photo shoot. You bring everybody that's a decision maker, and that's how we do it. There's no exception. In fact, we just won't take that client if they're not up for that. That doesn't work for us. And then, of course, we live in a tourist town. I live in Laguna Beach, so a lot of my clients are coming they found me on Google, they found me on an ad, they've been referred. Those are the people that get Zoom reviews. So that's the only 2 things are Zoom reviews and this. So that's what we really try to say, like, let's clearly communicate up front exactly how we do things, so there's no hiccups on the back end.
Yeah, and I love that. And I hope that everybody really does take note of that, because it does take, stand up, take a deep breath. This is how we're going to play in my, like you said, in my sandbox. If you want to communicate and you want to work with me, these are our rules, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Businesses have rules, and they're there to keep everything consistent.
Sure.
And I think that that's wonderful, and I hope everybody following along heard that.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to have rules.
Yeah. I think it's really important to appreciate your clients and to say things with a smile. I think there's a way to say something. Like I've been doing this for 22 years. I've heard everything. I've heard photographers say, I tell the clients that if they miss their purchasing appointment, they're going to pay a fee, and this is how I do it. That way of communicating, I don't think is for me, it doesn't work for me, for my business. I think you have to always be very kind and be very, very clear, over communicate in the front, prevent problems in the front end, let people know what you're doing in the front end so that in the back end you don't have any of those issues. Like, I am a premium price photographer. I need the person that comes in to know what that is. They're going to have an amazing experience, and they've come to me because either they've been referred or they've seen our work. But that comes with that's going to have a certain price expectation,
right.
The last thing you want is someone to come into the review session or the purchasing appointment and be sticker shocked.
Right.
I don't want to have that. And we've over the years done more and more things, and we've tried to just communicate once and only send the price list once, and it didn't work. We've even toyed with the idea of having them sign something that they've read it before the shoot. I don't want to get that legalistic, but
right.
I think it's really important that you, and this is talking about one little specific thing, but it's all the way along. By not giving flexibility on things that don't really matter, that don't really have to be flexible, it creates a better experience for everybody.
Yeah, totally. So my next question, and I'm going to assume that this would be one of the 3 tips that I'm going to ask you about, is communicating up front. What are the other 2 tips that you would recommend to people following along for creating systems that work?
I think so. That's a great question. Thank you. I think I would kind of break it into 3 parts. Okay. So the first system that's super important, maybe one of the most important, is how do you get leads when they come into your system? How are you communicating with them? How are you actually booking them? So I get leads from everywhere. I get leads from Instagram. I get leads from Google Ads. I get leads from phone calls. I get leads from LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many ways of communication.
So many ways now. Yeah.
We capture the lead. We have a good customer management. What did I just got the acronym wrong? Whatever. We have a good database. We have a good database. So we bring the leads in, and then we call it Bobbit. That's my husband's name. He's really good. If he's having a problem, he'll bug he'll make it a point to make it really uncomfortable for you unless you solve his problem. So we don't make it uncomfortable.
Is he your CRM?
He is our little voice in our head. We need to bob it. So I think I've heard this on a podcast or something. People need to be communicated with sometimes 17 times before you quit and say this is not a good lead. Yep. People are busy, especially in my area. They're really busy. So when leads come in, we're going to email them, we're going to text them, we're going to call them. Sometimes we connect with them on social just to make sure that they got the message from us, to make sure the phone number's right. And then we wait a day and we call them again. And we kind of have this whole, and we also put them into an email funnel that's going to start introducing them to us, tell them why we love photography, tell them what the experience is like. So that's the first system of bringing customers in. The second really important system is, okay, how are you going to do the shoot? Like, what's that look like? What does the whole session look like? Where are we doing it? What lighting do we need? What permits do we need? Who needs to be? I know we talked a little bit about, very often I'm doing behind the scenes. That's because I always have an assistant with me. Yep. And then the final system, I mean, there's so many other systems in there, but
that's huge.
Yeah, and then the final would be like, once the photo shoot is done, what's happening with those images? How are they, where are they going? How are we setting up a review system? And in a nutshell, that's, the day that I come home from the shoot, I'm copying the cards. I always want to have everything in 2 places. Yeah. I've been doing this for a long time. I've had missing images. I've had every bad thing that could happen has happened at some point with us. So right away, I have it in 2 places. And then we cull through Photo Mechanic. Is much faster for culling, I think, than Lightroom. Create a Lightroom catalog. We use AI which is also the reason I can do so much, is we use Imagen for our Lightroom processing. Cool. Get the Lightroom catalog back, send that to SmugMug. That's backed up in SmugMug. Then my studio manager downloads them, puts them into ProSelect, creates some artwork, creates some samples, and contacts the client. In the meantime, the client's already in that email funnel, so they've already been. The day after they do their photo shoot, they're receiving the email saying, thank you so much for working with us. We loved working with your family. Here's what to expect. Within 7 to 10 days, we're going to set up a purchasing appointment. Here's the days that we do it. Here's the evenings that we do it. If that doesn't work for you, let us know. Mm-hmm. But even down to scheduling, like I've had a lot of photographers I've talked to before that they just give any schedule. Right. And I think it's important to manage your schedule too, to say like, here's the days that we do stuff. Here's, you can fit it. We have one weekend day and we have one night during the week. week, and then we have days to do stuff. So all of that, those three combined, and that's a lot of systems. There's many systems in there, but that's kind of, they're all important because it's like beginning to end, because you're not going to get more customers unless at the end of that whole cycle you have a happy customer who got something, is thrilled with it, and wants to refer you to their friends.
Absolutely. And we live in an experiential world.
Right.
That is the requirement. It's not even like people like it anymore. Like, you have to have that. And going through that whole timeline and that customer journey, I suppose you could call it, all the way through. And you did, like I requested you skip a rock across it. You definitely did that. I mean, there's countless things in between there that happen. Yeah. So that's awesome.